This is a real treat. We're taking you inside the mind and the art of Clay Bennett today.
Don't go inside my mind, please.
I'm going to try. Probably unsuccessfully, but it's as far as we can venture, we're going to go. Let's start.
Okay, anytime. I'm ready.
Okay, so it's been a long year.
It has been a
Yes.
very long year with a very disappointing ending.
Yes.
But
But
at the end of every year, I do a year in review in cartoons for the perspective section.
so there's a bright spot.
No, it's not particularly bright. I mean, I guess it's good for all the writers who don't have to fill up a whole page for one day. But so for that one day a year, I rerun cartoons that have been published in the past and take up the entire front page of the perspective section.
I like that.
And so this year was no exception, except it was much more depressing cartoons. And that was just this past Sunday. So
Okay.
I think that's what we're here to talk about.
You would be correct, sir.
Good, good.
Okay, so let's do a little show and tell.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, here was the actual document on which I laid out aforementioned page. It's a Photoshop document,
Okay.
and as you can see, it's awfully big here.
What are you doing over here?
This is my Wacom tablet. This acts as a mouse. You can see my cursor moving around. I do draw and such on this as well,
Nifty.
but basically it's just the tool
Okay.
I use to issue commands.
Okay.
And
Like the president?
so yes, right. So here's the page all
Okay.
flattened out with cartoons that I've imported from past drawings. You can see it scrolls way down because it's a long newspaper page long. And it's just basically supposed to look like a big pile of cartoons. About 12 cartoons highlighted, other cartoons kind of peeking out from underneath the others.
Putin peeking out?
Well, see, yeah, that Putin cartoon I did.
It
But see, the
happens.
thing was that laying out the 12 cartoons that I picked, to kind of,
Showcase
the year. Some of them local, some of them regional, most of them national. Those were easy. It was these little buggers in here that were tough, because what I wanted to do was just show a little bitty portion of a cartoon, but still have enough so people could know what the point of the cartoon was.
Yeah,
in
that's
some
difficult.
cases it worked, in some cases it didn't. I mean, in here you see
I just was laughing at that one.
the text message from Jeremy Durham, and you just see oink, 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 oink. You can see over here, I call her Crooked Hillary, and Trump's all crooked. You can see the Ottawa High School Owls here with, sort of in the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. There was a Putin one I did at one point, but this was a much bigger cartoon. But I got enough of it in
For me to recognize
that
the
you
words.
might be able to follow the idea, the sort of the Twitter and the thinker statue, or down here we've got, you can't see it's James Comey, but eventually you kind of figure out who it is. There's a Trump-Putin sign instead of Trump-Pence. I mean, just little things kind of peeking out here and there just to represent a greater breadth of issues from 2016. But the main focus was still these 12 cartoons that, for good or bad, sort of summed up some of the issues, if not the most important issues, or even maybe some of my favorite cartoons, if not most insightful cartoons.
So, what are some of your favorite cartoons of 2016?
Well, to move over here, this is a bit
Okay.
easier to look at. Now, these are in black and white. They're not nearly as good. One of my favorites from the year was not that the death of Antonin Scalia was one of my favorite events of the year, but these were cartoons I thought were particularly effective for one reason or another.
Thought-provoking.
And
Yeah.
This one was, of course, you were hearing about the hole that he was leaving on the court. This one would just says Justice Scalia leaves some very big shoes to fill, and you can see these empty shoes that have squashed all these various little people who represent issues on which Scalia has been, in my case, bad. Choice, gun control. There's affirmative action. I think there's
just little issues,
civil rights. A lot of issues that Scalia was, in my opinion, on the wrong side of the decision.
Thank you.
Moving to a more local issue, we had the Cleveland director of schools bounced because of a sex scandal. He was, I think, Facebook messaging pictures of his private parts along with lewd messages to a woman he wasn't married to, which played into this sort of running narrative about Cleveland, Tennessee, that has been, plagued with sex scandals for years now. Mainly, they've kind of focused on the police department. They've lost at least 2 police chiefs to sex scandal. They've lost several officers now to various sex scandals. They even had officers in rows with other officers because they were having sex with each other's wives. So it's crazy. Cleveland, Tennessee, I don't know what's going on there. So,
lots, apparently.
Yeah, and a lot of people, were saying, what's in the water, in Cleveland.
Yeah.
But I really thought of, what's not in the water that should be in the water. And so here's this guy sort of dumping, saltpeter into the Cleveland. Now, for those of you who don't remember sort of the comedic hook of saltpeter, it was what they would give to campers to kind of suppress their sexual urges in your teen years. They would put it, give it to prison inmates so they
I should carry that around.
Randy. Well, maybe, I don't know. Middle age usually does it for most people, but saltpeter, it was just a suggestion on my part, and totally meant in jest. But,
who knew about Cleveland, Tennessee?
Yeah, Cleveland, a hotbed of hotbeds. But nonetheless, moving on, we had various gun issues over 2016, and I did lots of cartoons on guns. One of my favorites was this one showing one neighbor saying to the other who's looking at his truck with some sort of missile on the back, and he's saying a typical sort of gun slogan, what part of shall not be infringed do you not understand? Again, taking sort of the gun enthusiast argument and turning it against them seemed effective in this particular case. I just kind of like the drawing, and that I included my wife and one of our dogs in the background.
I was wondering.
Yeah, whenever I can, I sort of slip in my wonderful wife and either one or both of our dogs. So
they look very pleasant.
And why only one dog in this instance?
Well, actually, there's another dog over here that you just can't see.
He wasn't good. He or she wasn't
Not
good
pictured.
that week.
Yeah, and it calls a little bit too much of attention to itself if you have somebody in the background with 2 dogs.
Yeah.
So in this case, Cindy was just walking
You want
Jack.
me to hold it up again?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Cindy and Jack.
That is Cindy and Jack. Yes, my dog Jack.
Yes,
He's awesome, and she is, of course, very awesome. But so there,
neighborly banter about guns, makes for a good good thing.
No, it's just a curry favor in my house. Of course, it was a big election year, and during the course of the year, we heard a lot about Hillary Clinton's emails. First, it was just sort of random. Sort of nonsense about her private server. There were committee meetings and investigations and all sorts of consternation over what might be on these servers. The FBI was investigating it.
And then they weren't. And then they
James
were.
Comey kind of came out and absolved Hillary of any criminal wrongdoing. But then the WikiLeaks thing started, and so these illegally obtained emails, which were not from a private server, by the way, it was from the DNC server, came out, and it was like 2 months of the campaign where these emails were just, as people were saying, the drip, drip, drip of this scandal just kept kind of going on. So I thought of that, and the drip, drip, drip being a noxious thing that you might like have a sink that's dripping. So in this case, the Hillary campaign was symbolized as a sink with this drippy sort of email faucet. But of course, my point was that there was other more completely gross dripping, spewing, sloshing, spraying going on in the campaign elsewhere.
Right.
That was much more annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So
much more smelly.
yeah, and it was really bad.
It's gross.
Of course, that was from the Donald Trump campaign, which I symbolized earlier in the year as the kind of a new hat on, sort of the party of Lincoln. Here I did a less of a cartoon and more of a portrait.
It's a great portrait.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I went to art school, so I like to use
did.
that.
I can't believe
the
that.
skills I learned there every now and again. But it was off of a classic Lincoln photo portrait, and of course, anybody in a beanied propeller beanie kind of loses whatever dignity they had to begin with, and that was really my point. So Trump was the element that stripped the dignity from the once quite
distinguished
stoic,
man.
party of Lincoln.
Yeah.
Exactly. More on WikiLeaks. It was a big story. But then, after Julian Assange was leaking all these illegally obtained emails, we find out that, in fact, although he says not, he got them from Russian hackers. Now, he says, just last night, in an interview last night, he says it wasn't a government entity, which that may well be true, but, all the Russian government does work through private hackers within the Russian Federation. And so, anyways, my point was that Putin was kind of helping out Trump here. And here you have the Clinton campaign as this boat, and you can see very faintly above the waterline both, I would guess, Tim Kaine and Hillary Clinton bailing out their boat. And you can see the holes that have been drilled by a submerged Putin.
Yes.
And of course, the WikiLeaks is a bad pun.
And it also seems fishy.
It's very, very well. I would never have said that because that would have been a double pun.
I love
puns
some
are bad
puns.
enough one at a time.
He knows I love
puns. 2 puns. A pun times a pun equals, I think, a criminal offense in Tennessee.
Great. Cuff me.
Okay, so the mayor, the local sort of scandal with the mayor and his aide, domestic,
alleged.
A domestic dispute.
Yes.
Kind of
took on its
parlays into accusations being hurled. And really here, many months later, we still sit sort of kind of with a very ambiguous story that lots of people locally have really strong opinions on one way or the other, but really none can be proven to a shadow of a doubt. And when I first drew this cartoon, people thought I was implying that the mayor was guilty of this extramarital, affair, because I compared him to a very, very popular commercial that's on TV of the guy late night on his phone. His wife comes down, accuses him of all sorts of inappropriateness, and he says, "No, it's Jake at State Farm," which, of course, I have drawn Andy Burke, Mayor Burke, on the phone, basically saying this to the reader. Now, it's Jake from State Farm. Now, I would say, some people say I was accusing him. Others say I was actually absolving. Because the essence of the commercial is that the man in the commercial is innocent.
Okay,
He's
yeah, you're right.
innocent
You're right.
of the accusation that his wife is making. So I would claim the ambiguity is quite proper and
Okay.
even here months later.
I would claim
Very appropriate.
that, like all art, I think the artist likes people to draw their own interpretations.
No, I don't like for people to
You
do
don't
that
at
at
all.
all. No,
No.
no,
Never
no. They
mind.
need to draw my interpretation.
That's total BS. What was I thinking? Yeah.
So what is the real interpretation of that?
He won't
So
tell.
the real interpretation is sort of that at that point in time,
It's funny.
it looked like there was really no real hard evidence.
And
That you need to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. And the benefit of the doubt is what the man in the commercial was not given by his wife, and he should have been.
He should have been given it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my
Or-
story, and I'm sticking to it.
you're sticking to it.
I am sticking
And
to
you
it.
can always change that. If more evidence comes out, you could go the
Yeah, I
other
could
way
say,
with it.
"Nah, I
So
meant it the other
you
way."
don't have to draw a new cartoon.
Exactly true. Well, no, I would have to draw a new cartoon.
Well,
But at least I could defend this one.
yeah. And I mean, you're going to be doing more political cartoons this year. I mean, especially with Trump's first year, President-elect Trump's first year in office. So whenever stuff like this alleged behavior comes up, I mean, it does give you material.
Yeah,
You know.
okay, so that's another issue that newspaper people always have to deal with, is that depending on whose, political ox you're gorged,
Or this mayoral election, is coming
yeah,
up.
they will jump and say, hey, someone is innocent until proven guilty. Well, if you wait until everybody's proven guilty, you will never draw another cartoon. You have to go sometimes on assumptions of guilt as a cartoonist. I'm not, my cartoons will not put somebody in jail, so it's not like,
Right.
a constitutional right that you should be assumed innocent by a
it's-
cartoonist.
It's like comedians get a lot of heat too, because it's like it's like everyone is so offended all the time. But I
Yeah.
don't know if for somebody like you, if that's actually a good thing. I don't know.
No, I'm offended all the time.
You're offended.
Oh, yeah.
Am I, am I offending you right now?
No, it's all
Not
right.
yet?
But that's why I'm a cartoonist, is because
Right.
I am offended all the time. So I have to do something about it. It's either this or therapy.
Speaking of our
So yeah, I'm offended.
President-elect.
So November 8th comes, the darkest day in my adult life. I mean, besides maybe 9/11.
I didn't-
9/11 and then November 8th. I'm putting them kind of, just on a parallel
I didn't
track.
see him for a few days after November 8th
Yeah.
this year.
And so we get to the whole electoral college thing, right? Now Trump, of course, weeks before the election thinks he's going to lose the electoral college but possibly win the popular vote. So he's already setting up this stage that he might legally challenge things.
Right.
But when it ends up just the opposite, he's fine with that
good.
whole electoral college shit.
Yeah.
I did retweet a Donald Trump tweet
You did?
one time in my life, and he tweeted out in 2012, on the night of the election, the re-election of Barack Obama, he tweeted out, the electoral college is an abomination to democracy, or something to that effect,
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, it's high time I retweeted a Trump tweet, since they're so popular.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the electoral college did elect him president, although he eventually lost the popular election by nearly 3 million
Yeah.
votes.
Was it
Yes.
3 million now?
Nearly
Oh.
3 million, yeah. So yeah, you might want to do that. So yeah, it was over 2% and nearly 3 million votes in the popular election. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty wide margin for an archaic, anti-democratic institution to circumvent, but it did anyways. So
Yeah,
there
it
you
did.
go.
It did.
There
So-
you go. Down with the electoral
can
college.
you believe that?
Death to the electoral college. Not anybody within the Electoral College, just the Electoral College as an institution.
You've got 4, potentially more years of drawing this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, I
How do
know.
you feel about that?
I'm not happy
You're
about it at all.
offended.
No, I'm
You're
not
offended.
happy
You're
about it
offended.
at all. I'm very, very depressed. I'm
Depression
You know,
makes
I mean,
great art.
well,
Clay.
no, it's
It
just
does.
medication helps, but so again, this was long before the election, but it kind of made sense after the election. It's sort of our next door neighbors, the Mexicans over here. You can see they have a Mexican flag. They even have Mexico on their mailbox, so you know that's Mexico. And they're looking next door at what is obviously the USA because that's on that mailbox. So here's a whole nation crammed into just 2 houses, symbolically, with the Mexican wife saying to her husband, "Yeah, well, maybe we should pay for the wall."
And their child is hiding.
Yeah, well, no, it's not hiding, just peeking.
Oh, peek.
Just peeking cutely out the window.
Oh.
Get a closer look at that.
Yeah, so, and of course all the Trump signs in the U.S. yard, which it might be time for a wall. But I would,
You can-
and the Mexicans may well pay for it after all, I would say. But that's
I see
plenty of
another
that.
cartoon coming.
Of course, with the election, it's always sort of, you think in symbolic language and cliches as a cartoonist. We love cliches. Passing the baton, this, that, and the other, handing over the reins. There's all sorts of things that you can kind of latch onto as a cartoonist. This day I used passing the torch. Obama passing the torch to the
Baby hand?
very small-handed successor.
That's very concerning.
Donald J. Trump.
Small
Yes.
hands are
But
something
can
to be
he
concerned
hold the
about.
torch?
Well, that would be, of course, the point of the cartoon. I don't mean the little hands to symbolize anything other than his inadequacy for the office. No other inadequacies are implied here, I assure you. Sometimes, a cigar is just a cigar.
Thank you for that life lesson.
Anyways, moving on to a local issue, we had like this terrible month in a few weeks in late
It's really depressing.
November and December.
From tragedy to tragedy.
It was, it was. That's
Whiskey
what
or
I do.
something?
No, it's all. So it was like we had fires up on Signal Mountain, and then we had rain, torrential rain, and
We've been there.
flooding, and then we had the fires start up in the Smokies up near Dollywood, and then we had tornadoes, and it just seemed like, holy smokes, maybe this
The
is
world
all
is going to
signs
hell.
of the
We're-
apocalypse,
Yeah,
because
the
Trump
world
had
is
already been
ending.
elected, so there was this first sign, and then you have, the skies going black, and oh my God, it was
Nobody
starting
can
to
breathe.
seem
You can't
really
breathe
biblical to
anymore.
me, really biblical. So I took it to its logical conclusion, and included the plague of locusts,
Yeah, bring that up.
with the Tennessee guy sort of saying, "Of course," and then he is beset by many locusts. I just like that cartoon because, drawing locusts is not all that easy, and and
that was a lot of
I
them.
think I kind of pulled it off. So I was just proud of my locusts. It's how many times do you draw that in your career? Very few.
Well,
And then lastly, thankfully for all of y'all out there, another Trump cartoon to end the year. Trump, of course, one of his many campaign promises, which will not be fulfilled, was that he was going to drain the swamp in D.C. Symbolic language for ridding it of its insider trading and it's sort of cronyism and corruption. And then with each ensuing cabinet announcement, we found that he was filling his cabinet with the same cronies, the same alligators and frogs and turtles in that swamp that he pledged to drain. So, of course,
Right.
I did basically that image with Trump sort of using a pump and draining the swamp, but draining it right into his own boat. And and then again, that one I just liked because I got to draw like cute little frogs and an egret gets in the background with a fish in its mouth. And
maybe you should get into children's books.
And the Trumpster.
That might warm your heart.
Yeah, maybe I should, because this whole politics thing is really starting to depress me. And it's not like I'm doing any good. Nobody's listening to me. I drew for like a year telling people, don't vote for this guy. And what did you guys do? You went out and voted for him. And I'm going to take this person. I'm really hurt.
You are in Tennessee.
I'm hurt.
You're in Tennessee.
I'm hurt.
Well, that's a good segue to know that Lindsay Sparks says, Clay, some of us appreciate you. I hope you know it.
Lindsay, thank you very much.
Barry Wilson says...
You're just vastly outnumbered.
Not on our comments section here. Barry Wilson says, make sure you step on every toe out there, Clay. And then he wrote, lol, laughing out loud, as you know.
I'm old. I don't know what lol means.
LOL.
I thought it meant
lots
of love.
Lots of love. That's right. Then Larry Condra says, great art and a wonderful antidote to the know-nothing world of right-wing ignorance and bigotry that the Chattanooga area has been buried under for generations. From a recovering Chattanooga, and then I can't read the rest. Right-winger. Former right-winger.
Hey.
So see, a convert.
Well, I will carry on now. I was going to quit, but now, was that Barry?
That was
Who's that?
Larry.
Larry has kept me in this business for a few more years.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
He actually gave me an idea for you. He said Chattanooga's been buried. So you could do something about, like Chattanooga, like 6 feet under or something?
I don't know.
Maybe?
I would stay with your day job.
What is my day job?
We're still trying to nail that down. Well, okay, you ready for the bad ones? Mm-hmm. Or no?
Yeah, whatever. I hear from them all the time. So.
Okay. And this is one of my favorite words. This comment uses one of my favorite new words of the 2000 teens. So that's what the libtard Bennett looks like. Hope you know how hated you are. And the word libtard, where did that come from?
It's of course a variation of retard.
Yeah.
Which is a highly offensive word, whoever you are.
I don't,
just to even use that.
I don't like that word.
That term is offensive to me.
I see it a lot on our comments. It's quite,
I know. I get it all the time. But, it's... what can I say?
It's so interesting. I mean, because Ellis reads all of our comments. I actually choose not to, but people are so mean.
Yeah, it could be worse. You could go to Twitter. Twitter, they're meaner. On Facebook, at least, I think Facebook people are nicer.
No,
I think Twitter people are meaner.
You think so?
You should read some things that we've seen.
I know, but Facebook,
that's why I don't know.
In Facebook, you friend people. I mean, okay, you friend them and then you, rip them a new one, but still, you're doing it as a friend.
It's just like, what is the point of being so mean and using these terms, whatever?
I'm sure that all these people think I'm very mean, but hopefully seeing me like this, you'll see that I'm not really mean at all. I'm really a nice guy. I'm just terribly misguided.
But what's cool about, to me, my positive opinion about your job is that, it's expression. He's able to express himself through art. Not everyone's allowed to do that. There needs to be.
Well, everybody's allowed to do it.
Well, you're right.
It's just not everybody's paid to do it.
I don't like the word allowed. That's a nasty word
the whole
too.
First Amendment pretty much allows us all to do that. But, very few people are lucky enough to get paid to do that. And and so I understand that and appreciate that every single day of my working life. Mm-hmm. How lucky I am to be in this great country of ours.
One more question from the Peanut Gallery.
Sure. Yes.
And it's a two-parter. Kind of talk, and you can answer either part, neither part, or in any combination. But talk about what you use with the equipment you use over here, and then what about people who want to be a cartoonist? How do they? I mean, is there any hope for them? Is there
it's not as
there's no hope.
There's not as many jobs as there were when I was coming out of college, for instance. But But if you want to be a cartoonist, there's lots of venues, with the internet of getting your work out there. That's the good thing. It used to be you had to have a job to get sort of seen widely.
Right.
Nowadays, hell, you can, pretty much anybody can get their work out there and be seen, and that's really the point of this. It's not to make a living. I remember when I got fired from a job many years ago, I thought that they had stolen my identity from me, that I was no longer a cartoonist because I wasn't getting paid for being a cartoonist.
Oh.
And I realized at that point that, I was a cartoonist long before I ever got paid a nickel to draw a cartoon.
Right.
So that's who you are. It's not what you do, basically, or what you get paid for. It's kind of who you are. So
it's like we would still be telling stories.
So, anyways, a quick
Yeah.
little summation of how I actually draw cartoons is I start off drawing on just plain sort of copy paper, just little sketches, just this big. Usually they're just terrible. But I'm kind of bouncing around from idea to idea. And what I do when I come up with an idea I like, I'll use today's cartoon as an example because I have some of my early sketches. I make a very small sketch. As you can see, this is a very, very small sketch.
You want me to hold it closer?
It's on tracing paper, and this way I can sort of polish it and refine it by just placing it under another piece of tracing paper. And I'm always working in ink. I never work in pencil.
Okay.
And so from there, I usually scan it into my computer and print it out at a much larger size. I think this one, you can see I finally kind of honed the idea where, and again, this is just a sketch that I've blown up. Maybe this was not the final ink drawing, but I used this under a piece of tracing paper to produce this, which is the final ink drawing of the cartoon today. And as you can see, my printout of my sketch on the computer is pretty much exactly what I went over with my ink lines.
Cool.
I take this and I scan this into the computer, and I pull it into Photoshop and float the lines on a layer. People who know how to use Photoshop will know what I'm talking about. And build the drawing underneath it. I create the shapes of the characters. I shadow the characters, highlight them, eventually add color, any words I may use, and then at the end of 4 or 5 hours, it looks like this, a fully realized drawing with light source, shadows, highlights. This is in black and white. Of course, if you see it in paper or online, it's probably in color. But it has all the appropriate labels. You can see that he's going in the Oval Office. 44 and 45 signify presidents. 44, Obama, and 45, the unspeakable. And one is taking out a desk chair, and one is bringing in a high chair. So that was called online the transition. So that's pretty much how I do it. Now, to show you how I shade and highlight my drawings online would be a much longer demonstration, and I would have to kill you after I showed you because it's a trade secret.
Oh.
So I don't want to kill anyone. I'm very nonviolent.
No guns in here.
So I hope that sort of answers your question. But it's a lot of kind of just grogging around during the day trying to find anything that, the least bit clever. I've been at this for so long. I've done every cartoon I could ever think up. Now it's just, it's like, now I'm like dipping my barrel into the well, and my well's long dry. It had dried out a long time ago. And so now I'm just pulling up sand out of my well. It's like sand is coming up in the buckets. And the secret is to make the sand appear to be water. See, that's what I'm really good at. It's all the trick.
It's an illusion.
It's all the trick.
Yeah.
But hopefully, every day I come in, it's an empty sheet of paper. It's always a challenge.
Do you ever take ideas that are
No.
No, you never do that.
No, I can't do that. It's my name on the cartoon.
No. Like for us, people give us story ideas that we.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
understand that, and you know, I'm paid to think these up. I'm paid. I'm not paid to draw them. There's a lot of people who can draw cartoons,
Yes.
but there are much fewer people that can think up cartoons. And if you can do both, oh, geez, you're really
So the
cooking.
world is your oyster.
Well, yeah, it's and you know, yeah, and you know.
Like an old clam.
Oysters can really give you like terrible food poisoning.
They're also an aphrodisiac.
Well, see, I don't know. I
Positive mind.
No, it's again. That's a.
All right.
You're going
One
back
more
to
positive
Cleveland,
comment.
Tennessee.
I'm
thing
going.
again.
My mind's always in the gutter.
Kristen Pierce Barley says, "Love, love, love, 3 times love.
Love 3
the
times.
cartoons. Thankfully, I'm a libertarian, so I don't get offended by Democratic or Republican banter. Keep up the good work."
Awesome.
Someone right there in the middle.
It's like
I
our
guess,
friend Ron
Yeah.
Hart. He claims to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Right.
he's Switzerland.
Right. Yeah. So you're reminding me a little bit now about your process. It's kind of reminiscent of A Beautiful Mind.
yeah. Well, you know,
The men in white suits just have yet to find us here in this.
Yeah.
Is that inaccurate?
Well, I'm kind of half an idiot savant. You know, I've yet to find the savant side of me, but
There's still time.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. All
Well, anyway,
right.
so that's it. I got to get to work on tomorrow's cartoon, so
All right.
I hate to chase you
Just
all
gotta kick us
off,
out.
but you know.
I'm just glad you let us in. It's a
Yeah.
rarity.
Well, it is
Yeah.
rare. It won't happen again.
All right,
Wonderful.
let's end with a happy note. Jeremy Holloman says, "You've got an easy subject now. You're going to be busy the next 4 years."
Well, he's right, Jeremy.
So-
You're right, Jeremy. I will be busy. I will not be happy, but I will be busy.
Honest. Yes. All right. Well, you know where to find him, or you know where
I
to
hope
find
not.
You know where to find his work.
Yeah, thanks.
Timesfreepress.com.
Thanks for-
Or just, it's better just to grab a real paper.
That's right.
For this.
That's
For this
right.
it is.
Newsprint. It's all
I bel-
about newsprint, folks.
I believe that for this, not what the digital world, me and Ellis are doing. So go both. Go both.
Yeah.
Different things.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I figured out my day job. Thank you.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
I wish you all the luck.
Thank you. Okay.